The top stories tonight in Y News. The United States commends the Philippines for taking a bold step to defend its sovereignty by removing the Chinese floating barriers in Scarborough Shoal. Cult leader Senor of the Socorro Bayanihan Services Incorporated might stay in the Senate for more than a month. State Weather Bureau Pag-asa announces that the low-pressure area of East Central Luzon has developed into tropical depression.
And the United States Department of State accuses China of manipulating global media.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Friday, September 29, 2023. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Joselito Liquido.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media channels. I am Maven Carrizo.
First in the news. The United States say the Philippines made a bold step to defend its sovereignty when it removed the Chinese floating barriers in Scarborough Shoal. An American senior defense official also reaffirms the security commitments of Washington to Manila. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Lindsay Ford, the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for South and Southeast Asia, commended the Philippines' removal of a Chinese floating barrier in Scarborough Shoal, or Bajo de Masinloc. She described it as a bold step in defending the sovereignty of the Philippines. The U.S. senior defense official made the statement during a congressional hearing.
As you saw earlier this week, the Philippine Coast Guard took a bold step in defending their own sovereignty by removing a floating barrier installed by the PRC Coast Guard near Scarborough Shoal.
Apart from this, she also reaffirmed the security commitments of Washington to Manila, particularly when there is an armed attack against its ally.
The department has been incredibly clear that when it comes to our treaty commitments to the Philippines, we believe an armed attack against Philippine armed forces, public vessels, aircraft apply to in the South China Sea. That includes the Philippine Coast Guard. And we have said repeatedly and will continue to say that we stand by those commitments absolutely.
Meanwhile, USA is also intensifying its force in the region, including a new deal reached by the Philippines and USA with regards to Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA.
We are diversifying U.S. force posture to remain prepared for any crisis or contingency. That includes regular rotational deployments of U.S. P-8s and littoral combat ships with Singapore, and in the Philippines recently agreeing to 4 new enhanced defense cooperation sites that U.S. forces will have access to.
It was President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. who directed the Philippine Coast Guard to remove the Chinese floating barriers from Scarborough Shoal, which is part of the exclusive economic zone of the Philippines. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine Coast Guard, or PCG, has officially confirmed the removal of the floating barrier placed by the Chinese Coast Guard at Bajo de Masinloc, also known as Scarborough Shoal, on September 20. This action followed a joint effort by the PCG and the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, who conducted a maritime domain awareness flight yesterday morning over Scarborough Shoal. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. recently issued a directive to the National Task Force for the West Philippine Sea to carry out a special operation at Bajo de Masinloc for the removal of the floating barrier. The PCG showcased the anchor they removed to the media and conveyed that they are awaiting the national government's decision on how to proceed with the anchor. Emphasizing their commitment to the directive, the PCG stated that if China reinstates a floating barrier, they will once again remove it, in line with the prior order from the president. Additionally, the PCG refuted China's claim that the issue at Bajo de Masinloc is a mere dramatic display, reiterating the seriousness of the matter at hand.
I would like to inform everyone that upon our verification for this particular MDA flight, there is no more floating barrier at the entrance of Bajo de Masinloc. On our side, I think what the President did in giving us instruction to remove the barrier is to show the Filipino people and also to show the world that the President is really sincere with his commitment that we're not going to surrender any square inch of our territory to any foreign power.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. stood firm that the Philippines is leaning away from any form of conflict on issues hounding the West Philippine Sea. However, the president underscores a crucial commitment. He emphasizes that the government's unwavering determination to safeguard the welfare of its fishermen and uphold the nation's territorial rights, standing firm in defense. Nel Maribuhok reports.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. said the Philippines is not looking for trouble in the West Philippine Sea following the removal of a China-installed floating barrier in Scarborough Shoal. In a media interview following the distribution of rice in Siargao Island, the president stood firm, reaffirming the Philippine government's unwavering commitment to defend and protect the nation's maritime territory.
Iiwas tayo sa mga maiinit na salita, ngunit matibay ang ating pagdepensa sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas.
President Marcos highlighted the impact of the territory, allowing Filipino fishermen to harvest tons of fish once again.
Nung pinutuloy natin, yung nakapasok na fisherman, nung araw na yun, nakahuli sila ng 164 tons na isda. So, sa isang araw pa lang yun ang nawawala sa ating mga fisherman. At hindi naman pare, nalalagyan ng barrier na gano'n. At maliwanag naman ay nasa loob ng Pilipinas yan.
Following the Philippine Coast Guard's removal of the 300-meter-long barrier in Bajo de Masinloc as per President Marcos' directive, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Wenbin urged restraint, urging the Philippines not to make provocations or seek trouble. According to United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, Bajo de Masinloc is an integral part of the Philippines over which it has sovereignty and territorial jurisdiction. The 2016 arbitral ruling also affirmed Scarborough Shoal as a traditional fishing ground for Filipino fisherfolk. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, holds the authority to potentially disqualify certain candidates for the barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. As the electoral process unfolds, COMELEC will carefully review and assess the qualifications of candidates to ensure a fair and lawful electoral competition. Dante Amento tells us why.
The Commission on Elections deployed its task force anti-EPAL to address concerns of premature campaigning in the lead-up to the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections slated for October 30, 2023. This morning, the task force initiated a decisive step by filing an initial set of 35 petitions for disqualification against candidates allegedly involved in premature campaigning.
Let's start with the words of Chairman Garcia na hindi nagbibiro ang COMELEC sa pagpapatupad po ng election laws.
These cases will undergo a raffle process to determine the specific division within the commission that will handle each case.
That's Barangay Moto Proprio. The same shall be raffled into a division on Monday. That's our regular schedule of raffle, after which a summons shall be served to the respondent through email.
The COMELEC is committed to expediting the proceedings for these disqualification cases, ensuring a swift and fair resolution.
Mabilis yung resolution, and the Commission and Bank committed to resolve these cases before the October 30 PSKE. Wala namang pong problema kasi yan, they will be taking their names out of the list of candidates dahil manual elections naman tayo.
Chairman George Erwin Garcia expressed their dedication to promptly resolve these cases, assuring that resolutions will be made before the elections on October 30, providing a clear indication of their proactive approach to maintain the integrity of the electoral process.
Pwede na kami magdesisyon sa second week ng October. Kaya nga ang sabi ko sa inyo, almost sure ako na may desisyon ng COMELEC bago mag-October 30.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, the United States Department of State has accused China of global media manipulation through censorship, data harvesting, and purchases of foreign news outlets via public and non-public means. The U.S. reports about China's annual billion-dollar effort to control data. Jane Robles will give us the details live. Yes, Jane, good evening.
Good evening, Joselito. A United States report reveals that China has spent billions of dollars annually to manipulate global media. This includes the acquisition of foreign news outlets through both public and non-public means, support for online influencers, and obtaining distribution agreements promoting unlabeled Chinese government content. The report also details that China engages in data harvesting practices that enable it to target specific individuals and organizations, fine-tuning global censorship. The United States has issued a warning that if Beijing's effort at data manipulation remain unchecked, it could lead to a sharp contraction of global freedom of expression. This U.S. report comes at a time when geopolitical competition between Beijing and Washington has intensified amid controversy over China's expanding global footprints of its government-controlled media. Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy did not immediately issue a comment. However, in July, China responded to a North Atlantic Treaty Organization or NATO communique blaming the alliance for coercive policies and spreading disinformation by disregarding basic facts, deliberately discrediting China and distorting its policies. On the other hand, China encountered major setbacks despite the unparalleled resources utilized in its campaign due to pushback from democratic countries. Back to you, Joselito.
Thank you, Jane Robles, reporting live from Vietnam.
As a government shutdown looms over the United States, Republican legislators have initiated an impeachment inquiry into corruption allegations against President Joe Biden. The opening hearing took place yesterday, September 28, led by the U.S. House of Representatives Oversight Committee. The inquiry revolves around foreign business ventures associated with Biden's son, Hunter Biden, and brother, Frank Biden. However, as of now, no direct evidence has been presented pointing towards personal benefit gained by President Biden, even during his tenure as vice president in Obama's administration from 2009 to 2017. The investigation referenced payments records from Chinese nationals to Hunter Biden in 2019, with Joe Biden's Delaware residential address listed as the beneficiary. The White House has dismissed the probe as politically motivated and urged Republicans to prioritize reaching a deal to prevent a government shutdown, especially with the start of the new fiscal year approaching this coming Sunday. We'll share more global stories with you later. For those watching our live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. Alleged cult leader J. Renz Kilario, famously known as Senior Aguila, and 3 other officials of the Socorro Bayanihan Services Incorporated might stay in the Senate for more than a month. This comes after the 4 officials were cited in contempt and ordered detained under the Senate's custody for repeatedly denying the allegations of abuse. Senator Ronald De Rosa says he will talk with Senate Deputy Minority Leader Riza Hontiveros regarding the matter. De La Rosa and Hontiveros are leading the investigation, being the chairperson of Senate Committees on Public Order and Dangerous Drugs in Women, Children, Family, Relations, and Gender Equality.
Pag-usapan pa namin hanggang kailan. Baka hanggang buong bakasyon ng Senado, andyan sila. Pag maghihirin sila siguro, kung kinakailangan namin ang presensya nila, isasama namin sila. Pero kung hindi, maiwan sila dyan.
De La Rosa adds they plan to conduct the second hearing in Scarborough, Surigao del Norte next week.
The Philippine Space Agency, or PhilSA, has embarked on the Pan-Asia Partnership for Geospatial Air Pollution Information Project, abbreviated as Pandora Asia Network, or PAGGAPI-PAN. The primary goal of this initiative is to create a predictive model for smog, enabling timely warnings to the public. PhilSA has outlined its plan to utilize the GEM satellite from Korea to measure aerosol optical depth, providing insights into suspended pollution levels in the air. This technology allows for tracking and comparing smog levels in Metro Manila, including comparisons with data from the pandemic period and recent months. Moreover, the satellite is equipped to measure the presence of sulfur dioxide emitted by volcanoes. It will take 2 to 3 years to finish.
Yung sa mga tao, no, so malalaman nila kung mamas ba sila on that day or kung okay lang ba na walang mask, lalo na kapag may respiratory problems sila.
President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. has made a decisive move to alleviate the financial burden on truckers. The suspension on pass-through fees imposed by local government units on motor transportation goods or merchandise stands to bring about a substantial reduction in their expenses. JP Nunez will tell us why.
The president of a prominent truckers association, Ted Herbasio, commends the decision to suspend pass-through fees by local government units for motor vehicles involved in transporting goods or merchandise. Herbasio, who chairs the Inland Haulers and Truckers Association, shed light on the financial strain these fees imposed, as trucks delivering goods had to pay charges to multiple LGUs along their route.
Ang laking bagay nito, and yung sa issue ng delay ng delivery, malaking tulong. Doon sa cost of logistics, makakatulong ito. Meron, hindi man ganun kalaki, makakatulong ito.
Herbasio further emphasized that the new policy could potentially lead to a reduction in the cost of goods, benefiting both the trucking industry and consumers. He highlighted the various pass-through fees that trucking services usually shoulder and the potential for delivery services to decrease product costs if these fees are cut.
Yung iba nito ay tina-charge namin sa customer. So it's the customer na may-ari ng kargamento ang makikinabang dito. Sa parte kasi namin, yung nai-reimburse namin ay pabor sa amin. Pero merong mga pass-through fees na on us. Wala kami pinagsisingalan nito at nangyayari lang, nagiging dagdag na cost on our part.
Based on their calculations, they estimate needing to pay at least 30,000 pesos per unit of delivery service to LGUs for passage along national roads. Herbasio illustrated the issue with an example of paying pass-through fees to different LGUs when delivering goods from Cavite to Laguna.
Halimbawa Cavite. Ang Cavite, meron siyang provincial sticker para sa lalawigan ng Cavite. But, merong mga LGU na nagbebenta rin ng sticker para sa sarili naman nilang bayan, hanggang doon sa bayan o sa city lang nila.
President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. signed Executive Order Number 41 on September 25, effectively implementing the directive that vehicles responsible for transporting goods are no longer required to pay pass-through fees while traveling on national roads or other roads not funded by LGUs. This measure aims to facilitate the efficient movement of goods across regions, reinvigorating local industries. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Not like COVID-19, which swiftly spreads and can be transmitted by an infected person. The department clarified that this is not the characteristic of the Nipah virus, currently spreading in certain areas of Kerala, India. Dr. Eric Tayag, the DOH spokesperson, explained that the Nipah virus doesn't spread easily. This is due to its high mortality rate, where an infected person quickly succumbs to the virus, making it less likely for them to transmit it. However, he emphasized that the Nipah virus can mutate or proliferate rapidly. As of now, there are no reported cases of the Nipah virus in the Philippines. Despite this, the DOH stated that our fellow citizens should not be overly complacent.
Mahirap siyang kumalat sapagkat pag mataas po yung mortality rate o case mortality rate na tinatawag, namatay kaagad yung dinapuan niyan, hindi na po kakalat yung virus kasi patay na yun. Sa pangkalatan, huwag kayong kakain yung total death na karne. At yung mga nagkakatay po, ingat po kayo, lalo na yung ayaw po nakakatayin nyo, ay hindi na po buhay, natagpuan na ng patay. So mag-ingat po kayo. At i-report nyo po kung may ganitong sitwasyon para yung bayi ay makapagsuri na kaagad.
The State Weather Bureau Pag-asa announced that the low-pressure area east of central Luzon has entered the Philippine area of responsibility and developed into Tropical Depression Jenny. As of 4 p.m., Pag-asa located the weather disturbance at 1,400 kilometers east of southeastern Luzon with wind speeds of 45 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 55 kilometers per hour. It is currently moving in a northwest direction at speed of 20 kilometers per hour. Tropical Depression Jenny is not directly impacting the country. However, given the close proximity of the tropical cyclone to land based in the forecast track, heavy rainfall is expected over Batanes and Babuyan Islands in the next 5 days. The southwest monsoon may be intensified by the tropical cyclone starting on Sunday, possibly bringing occasional rains over the western areas of central and southern Luzon. The National Food Authority, or NFA, is urgently calling for a production increase from the farmers in central Luzon. They are requesting farmers to yield 20 sacks of rice per hectare to bolster the region's rice reserves. The aim is to amass a substantial buffer stock for 5 million sacks of rice, ensuring a stable rice supply for the government during times of calamity or unforeseen emergencies. Nestor Torres will tell us why.
The price per kilo of palay has become a focal point for both the National Food Authority, or NFA, and traders in Central Luzon. Currently, the price per kilo of palay in the market stands between 25 to 27 pesos, while the NFA offers 23 pesos per kilo, a slight increase from the previous rate of 19 pesos. Alwin Uy, the General Manager of NFA Region 3, mentioned that although many farmers prefer selling palay to traders, the NFA is urging them to allocate at least 20 sacks of palay from today's harvest to agency. The NFA intends to purchase the rice at 23 pesos per kilo and subsequently sell it at 36 pesos. It's still considerably lower than the government price cap of 41 to 45 pesos.
Yung hinahabol ng mga traders natin para kumita yung mga kasamahan natin farmers. So bilang bilang pasasalamat in return doon sa tulong ng gobyerno, nawa ay ma-realize ng ating pakiusap para sa mga farmers na magdala rin sila sa NFA para hindi naman nagiging kawawa yung ating mga consumers na makabili pa rin sila ng murang bigas. Una, hindi na nagbebenta dahil doon sa 11,203 ang NFA. So ito naman mangyayari doon sa pinamimigay na ayuda ng ating mga LGU para mas makasave yung gobyerno natin kung may murang bigas para sa LGU.
Looking ahead, the NFA is planning for the harvest season, aiming to secure the 5 million sacks of rice or at least 2.4 million sacks of palay by the end of November. These reserves are designated for aid distributed through various agencies, including the Department of Social Welfare and Development, local government units, Bureau of Jail Management and Phenology, and Armed Forces of the Philippines. The NFA hopes for the traders' understanding, emphasizing that with the 20 sacks of rice set aside for the NFA, many individuals, especially those affected by the typhoon and calamities, will benefit from this coordinated effort.
Nestor Torres, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other global news, Germany has signed a $3.5 billion historic agreement for the acquisition of Israel's Arrow 3 missile system to build a safer future. This report will tell us why. Germany has signed last Thursday, September 28th, the $3.5 billion missile shield deal in Berlin for the acquisition of Israel's Arrow 3 hypersonic missile system to ensure Europe's defense against air attack. The deal was the biggest sale for Israel's military industry and was also considered historic for both countries, according to German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius. The long-range Arrow 3 is a mobile system by Israel and the United States designed to shoot down missiles above the Earth's atmosphere, powerful enough to cover neighboring European Union states. Germany pushed to support the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO's, air defenses in Europe after a Russian invasion to Ukraine last year. This is to urge allies to buy anti-air defense system together. Israel's Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, remarked the deal as a moving event for every Jew, looking back to the Holocaust event. 80 years since the end of the Second World War, Germany and Israel joined forces, which stands as a testament to the transformation of both countries' relationship. Maven Carrizo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Switzerland's glaciers have undergone a profound transformation, losing a staggering 3 decades worth of ice in mere 2 years, as reported by the Swiss Glacier Monitoring Network, known as GLAMOS. The once iconic alpine ice fields have witnessed a distressing decline, shedding 10% of their total volume. This loss is nearly equivalent to the ice loss during the period between 1960 and 1990. Matthias Huss, the head of GLAMOS, expressed concern over this alarming trend despite a slightly smaller melt compared to the record observed in the 2022. The rate of thaw is likely accelerating due to the consecutive hot summers and minimal snowfall. This distressing phenomenon not only raises immediate concerns linked to global warming and climate change, but also has far-reaching implications. It directly affects Europe's freshwater supply, crop irrigation, nuclear cooling process, and even freight routes when waterways become too shallow to navigate. As some glaciers have already vanished or become immeasurable, such as St. Anaphrine Glacier, experts issue a stark warning. If decisive action is not taken soon, the loss of all Swiss glaciers is projected to become a grim reality by the year 2100. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. Our kasambahay, as the world faces these trying times amid various challenges and uncertainties, we are inviting everyone to join the global prayer for humanity. From Monday to Friday, 9:30 p.m. Philippine time through the social media accounts of Members Church of God International.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word giving glory to God. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 25, verse 21, it says, "If thine enemy be hungry, give him bread to eat, and if he be thirsty, give him water to drink." In the news. Those are the reasons behind the news, September 29, 2023. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Maven Carrizo, live from Perth, Australia.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am Joselito Liquido, live from Malaysia. We serve the people. We give glory to God.